Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Don't Forget to Tap. This is the story of a white belt going through all the white belt problems and documenting the journey along the way, and having the privilege to get to listen to some people give me some advice and just kind of share their stories in jiu-jitsu. And today I'm joined by one of those people who I'm very thankful to get this interview with. Mark has been doing jiu-jitsu since 2011, I believe he said. He's currently a brown belt. He's got all kinds of experience and stories, and I'm sure all kinds of different things he's learned along the way that I'm sure he'll share with us today. But with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Mark. So, Mark, thank you very much for being here, man.
Hey man, appreciate you for having me on, man. It's pretty cool to kind of be a part of it with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I really appreciate it. It's a learning process, as you saw, like going into it, trying to figure out all the odds and ends, but it's really cool once it's up and running and everything.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This is dope.
So you've been doing jujitsu, I think you said since 2011. So one of the first things that I always like to know is like, how did you find jujitsu?
Yeah, man. So started in 2011. Stationed at Travis Air Force Base. California's home for me too, so I was pretty close to home. I was actually kind of fell into jujitsu by accident. It was more so I was looking for a gym to train Muay Thai in, and that gym just happened to have a half cage with some Brazilian jiu-jitsu guys getting ready for MMA matches and stuff. And they always my class that I always attended always needed one person left to have a partner. So after Muay Thai was Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and yeah, I always ended up being that partner, even though I didn't want to be a part of it. It was all part of the membership. So um, I trained down there in Mountain View, Fairtex, Mountain View, in 2011. Started doing a Muay Thai, and then kind of picked up Brazilian Jiu Jitsu right back on the base of Travis. There was a group of guys that were training up there. Shout out to my old coach, Dave Sider. He's a brown belt under Saber Jiu Jitsu as well. But yeah, he kind of brought everyone together from the base, and they when we created Travis BJJ, and that was probably the epitome of jujitsu for me as it kicked off my career. Um, but yeah, that's where it started off over there. And some side gyms too. I would go to another. It was a Taekwondo gym down there by Travis, and they had started a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu program as well. But highest belt over there was a blue belt, and we went off of a curriculum too. So that was kind of cool learning fundamentals and seeing it from two different ways. So
Yeah,
that's
no,
yeah.
absolutely. Uh, and so a little bit of kind of background information that I actually just learned. So you have other speak because you were kind of talking about like the affinity for martial arts that you've had with it and everything. You have a background with martial arts. Is that what I understood?
Yeah. So as a kid, my dad put me into Taekwondo. I couldn't really tell you when I first started. I can't remember, but I believe I was about 6 years old when I started, and then earning the first degree black belt at like 14 years old. So I was in high school when I got my black belt in Taekwondo, and then I kind of just fell off that train, and still trained a little bit. Would pop into the gym and train, kick pads and stuff. But after that, it just kind of, I told my dad, I was like, yeah, I'm not really interested anymore. I lost that fire in it, and looked for, yeah, and then I started looking for Muay Thai, and just so I can stay active with it, of course, staying in a martial arts. Because I would go and skateboard. I'm like, yeah, this is cool, but it's not the feeling of, sparring and stuff and
Right.
getting active with another person and stuff. So
Yeah, yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah, so that's really cool. I mean, that just to have that diversity and that different skill set in your back pocket and everything. Um, so what like drew you into jujitsu? Right? Like I know what it was for me, but like what made you know with all those different backgrounds and the skill sets, like why was it jujitsu that stuck?
yeah, so um, going through Taekwondo, it's a belt system. You do have to test for all that, for your next belt and stuff. And what drew me to jujitsu was starting over again, right? Coming in as a white belt. And when I first heard about the belt system, of course, it was like, oh, 5 belts. I think I can get through that pretty quickly. Um, and yep, we're going in 12 years strong and still haven't got to the end yet. So, or I guess the beginning, So, um, but no, yeah, it was just that belt system that kind of drew me towards it. And because when I started, it was no gi, and then kind
Okay.
of drew towards the gi for sure. And I started enjoying it a little bit more, just because of the different things that you can do with the gi. But yeah, it was more so the structure of the gi, just because I already had that discipline and structure from a previous martial art. I wanted to follow that and stick with that system, the belt system, of course.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's awesome. And you kind of brought up something really interesting. So, I'm a white belt, obviously. Only been doing this for a year, and as I quickly learned, jujitsu is a long man's journey for sure. It's a lifelong journey, really, and I'm at least into it enough to know that. Of all the things I don't know, I definitely know that it's something that you just kind of make a lifestyle in a lot of ways. But one of the big controversies I think in jiu-jitsu is gi versus no gi. And so me being, a three-stripe white belt, not practically no experience to speak of, what's your take on people training gi and no gi, and at what levels do you recommend doing each?
Oh man. Um, for me personally, I think you should start it as you start the gi. I think you should go into no gi as you can. I know the training gets a lot, and sometimes one gets more addicting than the other. But I believe for me that if you train both, you get proficient at both. A white belt in a gi is a white belt in no gi. A black belt in no gi or a black belt in a gi is a black belt in no gi. Still, you still know what you're doing. You still have that, technique. You just got to switch grips and find your way and into those specific techniques. Of course, you can't grab a lapel or anything like that in nogi, but I feel, the earlier you get into it, the more you can evolve with it and then throw that back into the game of the gi and vice versa.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. One of my professors, and for anyone out there that doesn't know, professor, at least in my gym, and I'm assuming across the board, is typically a black belt. Is that true for yours as well?
Yeah, we have a black belt in our gym. The only time I wasn't under a black belt was over at Travis Air Force Base. We had
Okay,
Coach Dave Sider. He was a purple belt at the time,
okay,
and teaching all of us. And but he was still under instruction under a black belt.
okay. Yeah, yeah. Well, one of my professors, one of the black belts at my gym, he said that one of the biggest differences between a gi and a no gi, in his opinion, was being sticky and being not sticky. He
Oh
said,
yeah, for
he
sure.
said, he said a
Yeah,
gi, and this is like it sticks with me to no end. But he said when you're in a gi, you're really sticky. He's like, because you got to be conscious of everything you give and everything you take because they can stick to you. But in no gi, it's more street practical, but you're not as sticky.
yeah, he's
And
right.
and it seems like they both have their thought process as far as like strategies and stuff like that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me about your white belt experience, man. Like, what was the journey like for you? I'm a three striper. What was the journey for you getting the three stripes?
Oh man. Um, so 2011. Obviously that was a little ways back there. It was a grind, man. As a white belt, I got super discouraged at times. But there was just days where training, constant training, Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday. Sometimes we go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And we would just train, hammering techniques and just learning, from Dave and a lot of my buddies. A lot of them actually got promoted way before I did. I probably promoted a year after them. So I was a white belt for probably about 2.5 years, probably a little bit more than that. Just because for me, I couldn't grasp certain like concepts and certain things. So I mean, I think that the faster you can grasp these concepts and be able to show and do these techniques, and practice them and do them in live sparring, that it'll come faster, of course. But yeah, for me, man, it was just I just couldn't get him. And a lot of guys were way more stronger than I was. And I know a lot of people say like, hey, man, technique definitely uh, beats the strength. But man, when we're all white belts in that room and it's strength versus strength, and we barely have any technique, like I was always getting that short end of the stick of that. So yeah, it took me a while, man, until it just something clicked at like the third stripe. Something kind of clicked, and I was like, you know what, man, just let's just keep grinding along, keep
Yeah.
training, keep asking the questions.
Yep.
That's what I would always do and ask my coach, like, hey, how can I get better at this? Um, just trying to be that sponge to soak everything up, and obviously learning how to survive. Uh, I had to do a lot of that as a white belt. So
Seems like
I
that's
just
kind of the name of the game.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I felt like as a white belt, I was able to defend against purple belts, blues and purples when I was still a white belt. So I think my defense probably um, was way better than my actual attacking in the gi and as a white belt and stuff. So yeah, I
No,
could submit anybody as a white belt, not even
it's
another
act
white belt.
it's actually extremely motivating to hear that. So my last episode I called it Triangles, the class I wanted and needed. And dude, I'm kind of like you. I mean, it's actually really cool to hear that. And I didn't know that coming into this episode, but I feel like my defense is actually okay. Like I can at least protect myself and get out of some situations, not trying to get any kind of ego or anything. Because at the end of the day, I'm still gonna get my butt whooped.
Mm.
But I have a hard time attacking, and that's something I've really been trying to focus on. Is not just hunkering down and creating a shield. And we did a triangle class, and man, like until we actually broke it down, I was doing all kinds of things wrong because I just thought that applying pressure and more muscle would get me there. And if anything, I think I was kind of a safety hazard for people in that. I mean, you're just like, oh, it's not working. Let me apply more muscle, and you don't realize the damage you're potentially doing to someone's neck or anything
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So
Let
it
me just
was,
apply a little bit more pressure.
yeah. And so today was kind of one of those humbling moments. I did I know you trained this morning as well.
Yeah.
I did an hour class and then an hour open mat, and I thought I was like, oh man, because as soon as the class is done, one of our black belts is like, where's Chris at? He's like no kidding. He's like, where's Chris at? And he wanted to go over some stuff with me. And I appreciate, like, I will preach this all day long, but I love the people I train under. But he had some stuff he wanted to teach me because one thing that I catch myself doing a lot, and you highlighted on this, is that I use muscle way too much. Like if I get frustrated, I just try to power my way out of it. And he taught me
Hmm.
like some basic things about like inside control instead of grabbing the person, doing like a C cup on their shoulder to push them away and finding that opportunity to kind of create like a space or some gaps or something. So
Yeah, yeah.
what were some of your aha moments? Like that was an aha moment, was letting gravity, even something as small as letting gravity work sometimes. Like what were some of your aha moments as a white belt?
Um, Man, so really just like that defensive portion was just like surviving rounds against my coach too. And I can see him really putting the effort. Of course, I'm pretty sure he wasn't really going 1,000% with me, but just like, oh, okay, let them stick a hand in here. I'll I get to turn them over, right? And and just kind of naturally doing that. But what really made me loosen up as a white belt was to forget that you're still learning and you can have fun with it, right? Um, I've I've competed a little bit. I'm not really like a huge competitor, but I train like I am going to get ready to compete. So whenever that time comes, I don't have to fully get ready. Just gotta tune some things up. But
Sure.
I've kind of brought that since I was a white belt and train hard. Um, but yeah, man, like the aha moments was just kind of like I first started attacking, and I said, "Oh, okay, that's how you get there." And then one thing just kind of led to another, and it was utilizing defense to create the offense. And I'm sure you've heard that as well too. Um, just get so good at the defense that they have no choice but to open something up, and you're there. And now you have that opportunity to create window of attack, and that's kind of where my game started to evolve. Was the defense came up first, and I was like, got it. Now I'm
Yeah,
tracking.
yeah, and then you just kind of, it seems like once you kind of got that, then maybe it just helped you find your way the rest of the way a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Creating the pockets of for them a missed opportunity. So
Yep,
they would put a hand somewhere they're not supposed to. I'd grab it and turn them over or something like that, and there you go. There was my window of opportunity to make it happen. And of course, I
yep,
would blow it every time. That's why that's why it took me a while
yeah.
to get up through the ranks, man. But
But
yeah.
that's kind of the cool thing, it's something I actually love about jiu-jitsu, and I think I try not to overhype it, but it's just like I get so excited even talking about it. But it's like everything that you're talking about has like it seems like it has like some hidden second layer message that applies in life in some way. Do you feel like that
Oh,
with
absolutely,
jiu-jitsu?
man. Absolutely, man. Just even through the years, as you know, it's resiliency. Um, Jiu-jitsu brings resiliency 100%, and it shows you that, man, like one little movement in jiu-jitsu creates a whole different, awareness, or creates a whole different angle, and it can kind of change the whole situation. So I mean, that's how I kind of look at it. Um, for me, man, whenever I would get tapped, it was like, oh man, I just died, but the guy let go, thankfully. And so just being resilient to that, and trying to readdress something again, and not try to be in that same position, um, was something for me that I always kind of I caught that in the beginning. I was like, man, I'm getting tapped out, man. Why do I keep going over there? Why do I keep going in that same direction? Maybe I should go and turn it up, and change the direction or something like that. And yeah, as soon as I kind of got that, you know, it was
Yeah.
just utilizing that. I would tell my troops that before too. My younger airmen back in the day when I was stationed in Spangalm, um, some of them actually joined my class when I taught up at Spangalm and stuff.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, and they loved it. And they would come right after work. They'd follow me to the gym. Like I'm like, hey, what do you guys gonna lift today? And they're like, no, we're going to jujitsu. I'm like, oh, for reals? All right, cool, man.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah, and so you bring up another point. I could literally talk about this stuff all day long. I know there's
yeah.
like all those memes and everything, but so you and I are both. We've been in the Air Force for a while now. We're both, without going into too much detail, we're both pretty experienced in what we do.
Mhm.
And one thing that I started this journey so much later than you, like on a whole different, like literally decade later. Um, but one thing that I've really appreciated, I'm 13 years into my career and everything, but like I don't have a lot of opportunities to be new at things again. The last time that happened was like when I went into recruiting, and jujitsu has like kind of allowed me to be a student, like a complete amateur again, and like to get that opportunity and to be new to something again and to be able to suck at it and not be okay. That's actually been really refreshing for me.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, man. It's a humbling experience for sure.
Oh my God,
Uh,
yeah.
it's definitely humbling, man. Yeah, I'm super grateful to keep on, to not haven't quit yet. Probably won't ever, just because I'm so embedded into it. It's a part of like my schedule.
Yep.
It's part of my life 100%. So it's part of my family's life. As long as my wife knows, hey, Wednesdays and Saturdays I got to go train.
Yeah.
And so sometimes she reminds me like, hey, are you going today? Like, oh yeah, I do. I
Yeah.
am. So
So you kind of brought up something else, and I made a post about it a while ago. But have you ever wanted to quit? I mean, have you ever quit, or have you ever almost quit?
I don't think I've ever wanted to quit. I've always wanted to make sure that I had that fire in me still, that fire could still be lit. I knew I would always be training, especially after I got my blue belt. I was like, okay, now it's fun. But then there was days where it's just like months and months. I felt like I trained for 3 months and got nowhere. And then after that, someone, one of the coaches comes up and, hey man, Mark, man, come up over here, man. We get you a stripe. And I'm like, oh, what the heck? Like, I thought I wasn't getting anywhere with this. Um, but yeah, there's those days where it's just kind of like you're just kind of chipping away,
Yeah.
and you're learning, chipping away. You're getting beat up. Really, it's just all learning lessons, man. Lessons learned after, and yeah, I always seek the feedback. That's what I always did. But of course, I always kind of, for me, if I knew I needed a break, I needed that mental break from jujitsu, then I would take the break. But
Absolutely.
I would find myself not taking more than 2 weeks because then I'd be like, oh, there's the fire, I gotta go.
Yep. No, and that's awesome. What about plateaus? Like when you hit those like rough spots, like I've hit them so early in a year already. I've hit like those points where I'm just like I feel like I'm getting frustrated, I'm getting caught in things, and I'm like I just learned this, last week, and I'm already making mistakes. Like, what do you do, or what would you tell somebody that's hitting those to kind of overcome those?
Um, I would say, like, even for the class that I taught today, I kind of asked them like, "Hey, how was your week?" Like from what we um, learned last Saturday, because I teach a fundamentals class on Saturday. So
Okay.
it's all belts. Right now we're just kind of doing introduction to all the guards, very basic introduction to all the guards, um, and then so I would tell them like, if you're getting stuck and it's been like this for weeks, maybe you need to focus on something else, right? Just kind of just mind shift real quick to something, and then you never know because you've drilled that thing for so long throughout the maybe 3 weeks that you've been practicing that same move, and you
Right.
might find a different opening and it might be there, and you're like, okay, well, all that muscle memory that you just did for 3 weeks finally comes into play from just shifting your mindset to working on something else. um,
No. Yeah, that makes sense.
so I would tell my guys like, hey man, if you're having issues in like with arm bars and stuff, then hey, as long as you have an arm, like one arm, and there's a triangle, there's an omoplata, and there's an arm bar. So maybe you can focus on like the omoplata or something like that, and then
Yeah.
somehow they'll be like, "Man, I was catching arm bars last week." Like, hey, there you go, man.
There it
So
is.
yeah, it's just a quick for me. For me, I would tell my guys like, "Hey, man, it's just a quick mind shift." And you can just see it allows and slow down the roll. Do more flow rolls, slow it down so you can kind of see where you're at, versus just you know going through a hard round, 5 minute round, and yeah, we'll just maybe do like a 4 or 5 minute round of just flow rolling, slow it down, and
Yep.
just see where you're at, and see if you can have that motion of like riding the wave through there, man. It's just flow, and you want your technique to flow, and that's one thing I stress with my people is just don't look so robotic, man. Just flow through it. On to the next
No.
one.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, and that's stuff I'm still very much learning, and and trying to get through because in my head, I probably think I'm doing one thing, and then somebody will tell me like, "Hey, man, like slow down, like think about what you're doing," and I'm like, "Oh yeah," I was like, I remember this lesson. I just gotta like stop and think about what I'm doing and not get so intense all of a sudden. The whole spazzy white belt
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
And so I'm really trying, that's like my main focus right now is I'm trying to like slow down like you're saying and just like really just adjust, or is there like an angle I can do, or do I need to change my position, or stuff like that. And
exactly. Yeah, I
it's
mean, it's hard to slow down though, for sure.
it is, yeah, it is. And I think you get gas. I get gas. I'm sure you've got all kinds of techniques, or probably have to, you've got ways to
Mhm.
adjust, or it's a little bit simpler. But I feel like I get gassed out so quick, and I'm the sweaty guy officially. As embarrassing that is as that is, but I'm the sweaty guy. What kind of training do you do off the mats? Like, do you do any kind of routines or anything in the gym that helps you with like jujitsu on the mats?
No, just going to the gym. Just got a little push pull leg day. I'm just kind of doing 3 days and then a day of break, and then 3 days again. So I'm still strength training, but you know, I do a lot more of the compound lifts for the
Okay.
strength, and then a lot of kettlebell work. So just trying to get my hips engaged, legs engaged, and then just trying to. Here, kind of weird, man. We have the gym that I'm at is attached to a CrossFit, so we get a lot of like advice on how to get stronger in certain techniques and stuff. So the gym owner is a blue belt under our gym, and he kind of helps out with that too. So I just kind of take it back and go work on it somewhere else. And at my house, I have like a small little gym at my house and work on like Turkish get ups and stuff, and just building stronger frames like that. But other than that, man, nothing out of the ordinary. Just basic lifting. What we learned in the military.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's awesome. I
Yeah.
I can imagine having a CrossFit gym right there would be, because I mean, I've I've never done CrossFit, but watching those guys makes me nauseous just like seeing how intense it is.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's really good to watch, and a lot of the guys come over and they start training with us too, and so it's cool to see that lateral transfer, and then they get to learn technique as well. And
Yeah,
obviously, they're already strong, so they come
yeah.
over and yeah, all that's you feel all that strength, especially as a white belt. So
So you're kind of talking about like people that like maybe start CrossFit, come in and everything.
mhm.
For people that come in or like people that are thinking about it, because I'm sure there's like guys that come in to do the CrossFit and they see you guys rolling or they see the mats or something. Like, what's that about?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
what would you say to people? Because jiu-jitsu, one thing I like about it, and I'll leave with this caveat, is that it seems like it kind of draws like it draws kids too, obviously, but it seems like older people aren't afraid to try jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like it's got a little bit more of a mature audience. So like what's kind of your take on people that are curious about it, or what would you kind of say like if people have ever even been considering it?
Yeah, if anyone's considering it, man, just go to a class. Just try it. I know it's kinda it's intimidating, um, but look around the room, see how many white belts there are, see how many color belts there are, see a black belt. Um, you won't understand it until you actually try it, right? You won't understand, and it's not for everybody. People will come in, try it for a week, and you won't see them again. But they'll know that they tried it and they have experienced that, right? Just someone that is probably in peak physical shape probably can't do 2 rounds of shrimping or hip escaping. That's a
Right.
different type of cardio than in itself. Just moving on the mat is different. Um, but yeah, I mean, just got to try it. Step into it, and it's definitely fun when you start learning techniques that, of course, that you enjoy, that you think that could be kind of cool to learn, and the application of it on the outside is absolutely great. It's good.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I wanted to kind of bring up. How for anybody that, again, this is kind of aimed at the younger or I guess the more rookie version of jiu-jitsu and kind of talks to that crowd a little bit. But what do you think the practicality of jiu-jitsu is in real life? Like, if you found yourself in like a spicy situation in the world, like, how do you think jiu-jitsu would play into that?
Um, yeah, I think you would definitely understand movement. Like being in my position, I think even as a brown belt, if someone were to try to do something like that, I probably would step away from that situation. Uh, like, hey man, I don't want no problem, but of course, what I've been taught is angles of standing. Not trying to be in a confrontational stance, but I also have that opening of if I need to block and do a takedown or something like that. We've been shown that and been taught that. So I think just that application of knowing the self defense portion of it is good. Uh, I did it to defend myself, and now I have a family to defend my family as well. So uh,
Yeah,
yeah, it's good. Like you can't pull guard in a street fight. So
yeah,
you definitely got to learn how to stay on top and be on top and and know when to stop. Know
yeah.
when to know when you're being the bully and when you're not being that
Yeah.
bully. So
And I really respect how you what you led with on that is, walking away first and foremost. I think that's just in general the right thing to do if it's possible, regardless of whatever word exchange or anything like that. But it just seems like, I mean, again, I don't have a plethora of experience when it comes to things, but it just seems like jujitsu is so practical and so functional compared to a lot of other arenas when of some martial arts in general. I think is great, but it just seems like it's so practical.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you see a lot of people if so a lot of street fights end up, they kind of bum rush each other and someone's gonna hit the ground and then they just kind of you see like a person that's not experienced and they're just kind of wailing on a person on the ground and stuff and they
Yeah,
can't move and but obviously if you see someone who has trained jujitsu that you probably won't even see them in a street fight or if you do if they get that far they're probably in some type of stranglehold holding them telling someone to hey can you contact local law enforcement like they're not there we're not there to hurt anybody
no, of
but
course.
we'll put your lights out if we need to so
Yep, yep, of course. No, that's
so
that's awesome. So we got about 20 seconds, so we hit the 30-minute mark. So full transparency to the listeners, I'm really curious if it's going to let us go beyond 30 minutes because when I do it by myself, it doesn't. So we might be taking a small break in 5 seconds,
Okay.
or we'll keep pressing, so we'll know, right? Oh, it's still recording. Can you still hear
Yeah.
me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So I think it's going to let us press. That's good. When I do this by
Yeah.
myself, it stops me at 30. Okay, so another thing that I think would be kind of cool to get your perspective on is, have you noticed one thing that it's done for me, and I always like to talk about this because I'm naturally kind of a little bit of an anxious person. Like I just worry about stupid crap all the time, right?
Mm.
And I think right now that's definitely something that I think we're seeing a lot with like society is just like, especially post COVID and stuff. A lot of people dealing with just trying to find resilience and everything. And I think that's the number one thing that jujitsu has given me is like after an hour full of people that are trying to find ways to like, you know, get get the advantage on me in great ways. Like there's some of the best people on this planet, but the world seems so much less threatening when I leave there.
Yeah.
Like and I think it's just been great for the mental health aspect. What do you think? Have you had anything like that?
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Shoot, I think everybody can relate, and that trained jujitsu for a while too. Even for yourself, if you started back in like 2020, during COVID, like I was in my peak stage of like, man, I'm feeling good, getting ready to compete. I was getting ready to sign up for a fight to win with one of my buddies, or even also getting him ready as well down in Dallas when I was still a recruiter in Dallas. Um, and then everything just shut down, man. Like, and that really like hurt hurt me. And I was like, oh, no training for no extended time, or for an extended time.
Yeah.
And I was, for me mentally, that kind of hurt me, and I was just like, all right, I got to figure this out. These online classes ain't working out. I don't have another partner to do this with, and I was not trying to get my wife into it like that. And it was just, it hurt me mentally, even just kind of going to a gym like that, or my gym in Texas. I was watching them. I was like, man, I wish I could train. But I still kind of stayed within the rules of it, and stayed behind the sidelines and just watched and still took notes and learned and stuff. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, and then after I just said, you know what, man, let me go try it again one more time on the mats, and bam, came back.
Yeah.
and, but yeah, for that mental health, it was definitely something that for me I needed. But as far as like society, it's funny that you say that, man. So I was actually just talking to an applicant a while ago, maybe like a month ago, when an applicant who's going to get ready to join the Air Force. Not getting into too much details. I was just
Yeah,
reading
of
through
course.
his stuff, and um, yeah, man, he said he was on some depression medication and stuff, and I was like, okay, this is pretty normal over here, and where I'm at.
Sure.
And then another comment said, off medication because I started martial arts and started Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And I was like, oh,
Really?
let me talk to this kid. I was like, I do Jiu Jitsu, and so I bring him in the office. He was getting ready to go and uh, do some stuff over at MEPS and stuff. And so I'm talking to him. I was like, hey, man, I saw your stuff and it says that you do Jiu Jitsu. You train around here? It's like, yeah, I actually just earned my blue belt, down here at, I think it was at Gracie Baja down here in Oregon. I was like, "Oh, cool, man. That's what's up, dude." He goes, "Do you train?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm a brown belt over here at Impact Jiu Jitsu." And he was like, "Oh, cool, man. Like, yeah, man, this thing really saved my life, and it really took me away from medication." Um, and I was like, "Dude, that's huge." And it's, I kind of stay in contact with him too, and just kind of talk to him like, "Hey, how's training?" And every time I see him, if I go to one of my recruiters' offices, and it's been, he said it's been good. I believe it. I hear different podcasts that have removed medication from people's daily life, and they're just training, and it's been definitely helping them cope with certain things, and it's especially with that depression and that anxiety. So I think it's
Absolutely.
I think it's huge.
Yeah, and for the record, for anybody listening, I'm not saying that it is a prescription for anything that you're dealing with mentally or anything like that, but I think it has potential, like many other things, like any hobby, it has potential to help you in a
Hmm.
lot of ways. And for me personally, I'm just speaking of my own experience that it really helped me in a lot of ways I didn't expect. I thought I was just going in to get, you know, a good workout. And I think what it does for me mentally is almost better than what it does for me physically in a lot of ways.
Absolutely, absolutely. It works your mind. It works you physically, of course. Um, and I think it just gets you like takes you away from the outside world, and brings you into a different world and on those mats, and you're learning and you're feeling whole again. Especially someone who's kind of suffering from sadness. There's because you don't know, like, if you never talk to your teammates, like, talk to them, find out what type of people are in there. Like, I've been in gyms where there's doctors, dentists, there's the potheads, there's entrepreneurs, there's hundreds of different people in that gym, and you're all there to do train and focus on one goal. And they're all the same. They're going through that journey as the same as you, and they just have a different occupation. For me, it's just like, oh, that's amazing, dude.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's that
it's
it's that
funny.
networking aspect as well too.
I, absolutely. It's funny you say that. I'm a huge fan of Joe Rogan. He was a huge inspiration for me to even like take a look at doing something like this.
Hmm.
And he said something. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and he said something. He's like jiu-jitsu is like truly the ultimate connector. He's like, because you'll have the guy that smokes pot training with the cop that he just had an interaction with the week before, and
Yeah,
it might be the first place they actually understood each other, like the first
yeah,
time that they actually came to a neutral place. And he's not there to be, I'm not saying he's not a cop, but he's not there to be a cop, and that guy's not there to do anything bad. They're training together, you know, and it's the first time they've met neutral and actually understood each other.
yeah, absolutely. Ain't wrong about
So
that. That's for reals, man. I know even my class we have a bunch of cops, and then we have a bunch of law enforcement, federal. We got federal cops in there as well. So it's cool. It's cool to see, and I love helping them, especially if that's going to help them save their lives on the outside. And now I'm all for it. So
yeah, absolutely. And then one question, not that I again appreciate you taking the time to do this in general, but
yeah,
one thing
absolutely.
I'm always curious about, where was your biggest growth in your journey this far? Like at what belt did you, or what stripe, even if you want to be like super specific, but like where
Hmm.
did you feel like the biggest stride, like the biggest like, all right, I'm good at this. Maybe I'm not mastering it, maybe I'm not where I want to be, whatever, but this is for me. Like what was your biggest stride in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah. Shoot, I didn't even give you a background of where I started at. Yeah, I can break it down if you want.
Yeah, hit me,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, started jujitsu. Like, again, I said, started jujitsu in 2011. Started at Travis Air Force Base. There's multiple little gyms that I went to over there, but we'll just say started at Travis Air Force Base. Um, was there until 2014, and then received my blue belt in 2013. So, under Dave Sider, a good friend of mine. Still talk to him. I talk to him on a daily. But yeah, I ended up getting my blue belt 2013. I ended up going to Osan, Korea 2014, and trained there under multiple people actually. Professor Bobby Williams had a um, attachment up there, and then it kind of moved over to Uprising Jiu Jitsu with Carl Cruz, Ian Tanaka, and Matt Andrews. Man, those are my people right there, man. Um, and then we also cross trained with Chris Kim, Professor Chris Kim over in Seoul, and so we were constantly training. Korea was a big like a big motivator for me at the blue belt level, training pretty much like 6 days a week, and like having that opportunity to roll with different black belts, different brown belts and stuff. Um, but yeah, going from 2015 to um, heading down to Spangdahlem Air Base in Germany, and man, that one was a tough one, man. No training on base,
Oh
and so
wow.
I was a blue belt at the time. I ended up getting my four stripes. Yeah, I ended up getting four stripes within the year at Korea on my blue belt, and was a blue belt from 2013 till 2018 or 2018, about 2016. Sorry. Yeah, so 3 years as a blue belt. I ended up starting restarting the program on Spangdahlem. Reached out to a black belt, an active duty black belt who was kind of stationed somewhere else within Europe. Reached out to him. He had asked me to go and check out an open mat, and he wanted to see where my skill level was at as a blue belt. And you know, long story short, he graced me and gave me a certificate to start a gym on start the program on Spangalum, and that's where it kind of kicked off. And then
Man,
20,
that's awesome.
yeah, it was wild, man. It was like it was kind of crazy because there was people training, but the gym would be like, "Hey, is this a class?" And they're like, "No, we're just kind of training." And we had four blue belts, including myself, one purple belt who was just kind of TDY up there, and maybe like three white belts, and nobody leading a class. And I was like, okay, well, let me go put my name on this. Let me go and travel to this. Shout out Professor Jay Turner. He hooked it up with that certificate after checking me out, and yeah, he's the one that kind of started that, helped me start that program up there, and it's still going. Uh, it just kind of changes who's in charge up there and stuff, but
Right.
yeah, it's been a grind up there, but yeah,
And
and
good.
then oh, go ahead.
No,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then I ended up getting my purple belt from Professor Bryant Pangolinan out of Saber Jiu Jitsu in Concord, California. He's a good friend of mine too. I kind of reached out because everybody from my Travis Air Force Base team kind of went to his gym, and so I just reached out to him and said, "Hey, man, I'm part of Travis as well, but obviously I can't go over there, and I would definitely love some guidance if possible." And I brought him out to Germany a couple times, I think two times for seminars, and it was really cool because learning his background that he was stationed up there as well. Like his dad was up there, and so it was kind of cool bringing him back around the area. And I went back home, and I believe it was 2016, June of 2016. He ended up promoting me to purple at his gym, just stopping in, and
Wow.
ended up getting beat up over there, and got my purple belt. And my coach was there, the one that I started with, because he had started training up there at the time. And yeah, so got my purple belt up there, and then from 2016 to 2020, I believe. 2020, I got my brown belt. But yeah, from so when you're talking about where things kind of picked up and the epitome of my jujitsu career is at the purple belt level. Um, I started training over at now it's Combat Base Texas down in McKinney. That's probably where I gained the most knowledge um, under Alan Shabaro, Professor Alan Shabaro. I learned my stand up there. I was never really a guard puller or anything like that. I did it just to get to the ground faster.
Mhm.
But I actually learned a lot more stand up there. Learned judo and a lot of wrestling, and yeah, a lot of techniques that I still use today is from that gym. A lot of the little things that I had to make adjustments from what I learned over the years is from that gym, and I still use that today. I it's not I'm not saying that the other techniques that I learned weren't working, but these ones that I learned over at Combat Base Texas was is fit my game a lot more better, and especially that judo, man, it was a grind up there, just getting thrown, and a lot of learning up there.
Yep.
Um, but that one was probably my epitome in my jujitsu career, was just training up there, competition classes, open mats, and then the classes throughout the week it was good. And that, I mean, that Texas summertime is not forgiving.
It's
So
it's a beast.
training in that gym, it's like a warehouse gym. It was with a fan, and it was a grind. I loved it. And so yeah, and then ended up coming up here to Oregon and training under Impact. I love the team over here too. I'm under Impact Wilsonville. Impact's a really big gym. It has a bunch of little gyms all around Oregon under Professor Michael Chapman and Tracy Chapman. But yeah, these it's been fun, man. It's been a grind. I'm loving where I'm at right now, where I stand in jujitsu, and it's I'm just having fun with it, I guess.
And that's I think that's everything. I think having fun with it, really, that applies to everything in life, but especially in jiu-jitsu. And I think, man, you hit on so many things that I was like, oh, like, I want to hear more about that, and I want to hear more about
Yeah.
that, and I know, like, I could. That's the only downfall. Is, like, I can literally go down that rabbit hole for like an entire day, and I was like, I got to be conscious of my guest time and everything.
You're good.
But one of the things. So when you're talking about when you're in McKinney, and that was like a kind of your big growth place and everything. Was it? Do you feel like? Because I'm always curious about this. Do you think it was the technique specifically you learned, or was it kind of the environment and the present, just being in that environment? Because I hear a lot of people talk about, like, there's all the different gyms, there's I don't want to name any specific or anything,
Mhm.
but every gym seems to have a little bit different style on how they do things. And do you think, like, the style contributes to a person's growth, or is it just like that person's journey at that gym is the
No,
difference?
I think it's the gym and the journey that you're on. Because like for me, like I just kind of like take what a if an instructor teaches something, I'm gonna take portions of what he teaches me to utilize in my game. Not everything, you know. Uh, if someone's playing like spider guard, I don't have long legs, man. I can't do that. I'm a short guy, man. I'm 5'7", so short guy, and so I can't do those things. Doesn't mean I'm not going to try it and utilize it still, but it's not something that's going to be like a go to for me. Um, so I think the gym, the environment, for me, it was the people that was in there. It was the instructors, multiple black belts in there, just allowing me to pick their brains and just learning those techniques. I was very focused up there too at the time, focused on uh, just trying to do good, and I wanted to get back into like a competition shape, and that's kind of where I kind of took it seriously up there and always contemplate on competing, but if that time came around, I was ready for it. But yeah, it was. I think it's the gym and the people in there, the
Oh,
environment, of course.
oh, most definitely. Yeah, I agree, and I don't have the experience from the background. I'm very cognizant. I don't. With this whole podcast, that's something that I was really intimidated. Not intimidated. I was really careful to, like, kind of put that out there, because I didn't want to sound like I was coming from a place of experience. Because this whole thing is documenting being an absolutely horrible beginner at it, right? And
Mhm.
maybe 10 years later, having some level of experience to speak to. But I like hearing stuff like that, because as as we go through our journey, as we move on in life and everything, and you're kind of like, maybe you have options, maybe you don't have options, or maybe it's like you, and when you were overseas and you literally had to be the front runner on being able to help people and actually lead a journey of jiu-jitsu for other people. um, you just never know what that looks like. So I've always kind of been curious, especially on someone that's had multiple opportunities to be in so many unique positions, on, like, your take on that.
Yeah, it's yeah, it was fun, man. Just even so, I as far as Spangalum, I just kind of put my name on there, and I was just a POC. I was told myself I was a POC for it, not the instructor. But I ended up teaching. That's where I kind of learned how to break things down to a
Yeah,
more minuscule level, um, and just teaching. Teaching actually really got me to break down uh, technique a lot more. So I would teach something, and then probably the next week I would teach again, and it would just go into like finer details of what I felt that was helping me. And then I would, obviously, I know a lot of people are against it, but YouTubing techniques. So I would just look something up, and I would just look at where specific hand placements are going, and I would just show that, and we would go into the technique. Obviously, I was just a four stripe blue belt, still learning, and then just sharing the techniques I already knew, and then we would just fine tune those things, and then we would have certain visitors come around and share their techniques as well, and I would try to bring as many people as I can for seminars to come up. But of course, being overseas, that was a difficult one for some folks to come up for. But
for sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was.
absolutely.
I think just sharing the techniques and sharing Jiu Jitsu with people is, I think, what you need. It's that's what kind of just keeps me positive with it. I've been blessed to go to all the gyms that I've went to have super cool vibes, man. Everyone is so friendly, everyone's so helpful, never any hate in the gym or anything like that. It's all been that family friendly environment, and I think that's one thing that you need is if when you're going to a gym, do you feel that when you walk in? And it's that's huge for me, at least. That's huge, and I think for someone that starts and in that white belt perspective, I think if you fall into a gym that has that family orientation, then I think that should be the gym for you.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And it's funny you say that. I again, singing the praises of the people I train with, both the people, that I guess, that attend the classes that I attend, but also the people that teach them, the professors, the coaches, and everything. And they've ended up being relatively large mentors. And we're in an environment where you have a lot of people that take on like mentorship roles for you and everything. But in a year alone, I've quickly identified that I tend to connect a lot easier and a lot smoother with my new jujitsu friends than I do with like some people that I would meet that I might work directly with or stuff like that. It's amazing, like you said, how friendly and open of an environment it is. At least at the gyms I've been to as well. And because I go, I travel a lot for work and everything, and I
yeah.
try to hit a gym everywhere I go. And I've not been to a single gym where it hasn't been just phenomenal people with like, yeah, come on in, man.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely, man.
that's cool.
It's been, and we're in the same boat, just kind of traveling around. I know one of my offices that I got to go to, I had a TUI for, and I always pack a gi with me. And it's just
That's
kind of
awesome.
like, yeah, it's kind of like, am I training today? Yeah, let's, office visit went great. Let's go train.
Yep.
It's, and that's the cool thing is that, back in the day, 2011, it was kind of tough to kind of pop into a gym. It was like, oh, where you train out of? Oh, I'm over here. Okay. Yeah, nah, man. You, you know, nah, we're good. Like, you got to pay like $50 or something like that for a drop in. I'm
Hmm.
like, oh, okay, cool, man. I'll just go to a regular gym and then just go lift or whatever. Like, I'm a broke airman,
Yeah.
kind of go trying to travel around and stuff. But over the years, it kind of got better, and it was just people were opening up to the cross training. Specifically open mats and stuff. I would attend a lot of the open mats at different gyms, and just trying to meet people like that and just connecting with others from different gyms, and then reaching out to the professors that were in those gyms like, hey, I live in this area. um, is would it be okay if I just I'm on leave or whatever at home, and would it be okay if I popped in for the week? I'll pay whatever the a week's worth of payment is. And it's majority of the time they're just like, nah, it's cool, man, just come on in whenever you can. And that's what kind of built a relationship with like the people that I know around my area.
Yep.
Even over at Semper Fortis, man, those guys are super awesome, man.
Oh,
Man,
you've
they
gotten
take
to
care.
train at Semper Fortis before?
Oh man, I would go there every time I'm in San Antonio. I go over there.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah,
I've
Professor
trained over there. Yep,
yes,
Professor Sod.
Saad and Sway. They took me in when I was still in recruiting school, man. They would, I packed like one or two gis with me, and they were like, "Dude, you can come here and train here as long as you're here, man." And I was like,
Oh man.
"Nah, I'm gonna hide $100 somewhere and just because they wouldn't take the money, man." And I was just like, "Nah, that's this is not that's not me. I want to pay for." They're like, "Nah, you're good, man. Just
Yep.
come train." And so every time I come down over there, they take care of me,
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
super grateful. To meet them as well, man. They've been huge huge part of my training as well. So
I'm
to just see,
actually working with so I you and I both know a lot of the people that train there still, and I'm actually planning on getting Professor Sod on the podcast in the near future.
oh cool, man. Yeah, he's awesome.
So
I love rolling with him.
I'm really excited about that. Some people are like, yeah, I'm sure Professor Sod would jump on there, and I was like, absolutely, like, I'd be grateful for anybody that's willing to, but especially somebody that's got a pretty cool story.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. Probably retired military, man. That's a good dude, man. Overall.
So. Well, dude, I'm gonna open the floor up to you. Anything again, I'm the young, crazy, spazzy white belt still. Anything out there that you would just kind of throw out that you wish you knew a while ago, or things that you're still learning, or just general advice, an intro. The floor is yours, man.
Yeah, man. As far as advice, um, man, have fun with it. Like if you're so focused and laser focused on something, that's cool if you have that goal. But I think for me, I always used to tell the guys and that just started, obviously it's going to be a grind. Uh, when you're kind of starting, you're going to get beat up, man. Let's just go ahead and air that out, right? You're not the toughest guy in the room anymore.
Nope.
The guy that's 130 pounds with the black belt on his waist is the toughest guy in the room right now, man. So it doesn't matter if you're 6'1", 200 pounds. Well, maybe the weight might matter, but at the end of the day, he's still gonna get you, right? It's just have fun with it, man. Be open to learning. The environment of jujitsu allows you to be open minded. You need to be open minded. Leave the ego at the door, of course. There's days where you're frustrated, but talk to your coach. Talk to your professor, talk to your teammates, and seek the feedback. That's how you're going to get better. Anyone that's just kind of starting, seek the feedback. Like, hey, how did you get there? You got to be curious in jujitsu if you want to consistently improve. If you just kind of stay to one track mind of a certain technique, that's how I was in the beginning. Was oh, I just need to get on top and be in side control. That's where I'm going to win. Like that is definitely not the way for to train and to learn your techniques. Of course, you want to stay on top to win the match, but and submissions, of course. But yeah, man, just have fun. Seek the advice. Talk to your professors. It's a like you said, man. It's a journey. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. That's where people get burned out. I don't know if you ever heard of the blue belt blues, but people get the blue belt blues, and you'll see them catch their blue belt, and they don't ever show up to class again. That's a real thing, man, and it's as soon as you get past that blue belt and get that purple belt, man, and it's that's where you're a lifer for it. Whether you're training every single day or you train once a month, you're still a part of it. So
Yep. And I
as
and I
yeah,
love those. Quick thing because you touched on that. I have to. It's funny how those stigmas are out there. Like, and I'm so new to this, it's ridiculous. But like, blue belt. If you're a blue belt, you're never seen again. If you're a purple belt, you don't show up to warm ups.
yeah.
Isn't that what it is?
I, not for the so again my purple belt the epitome of my jujitsu. I showed up to warm ups every single time. If I didn't, I was just maybe like 2 or 3 minutes late just because of work and traffic. And the coach knew what I was doing, in the business that I
Yeah.
was in.
It's
Um,
just funny. I love those stigmas.
yeah. So, but for this gym, the one that I'm at right now, I do show up to warm up still. Um, but yeah, it's funny. I've seen it. I see it in my gym still, and people just kind of cruising in like, oh, hey man, no warm ups today, huh? How about like 100 burpees? That'll warm you up pretty quickly. So,
Yeah, yep, absolutely. So,
uh,
well, man, I can't thank you enough for this. This is an awesome interview. It was, I mean, I knew it was gonna be great, but it ended up being better than what I even imagined it was gonna be. And I love hearing your story. Thank you so much for your time doing it. And you've got an awesome story. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you for inspiring me. And we're, part of kind of a similar culture when it comes to training and the
mhm.
people that we train with and everything, as far as like our work relations and everything. And
Yeah,
you guys have just really been great at supporting me as being new to this journey. So I can't thank you guys enough for that.
absolutely, man. Anything that you need, we're here for you, bro. And if you're ever here in Oregon, man, come down and train, man. But
Absolutely.
hopefully in a year and a half, I'll be up there where you're at, and we can train.
Absolutely. So,
Man,
well,
thanks
everybody.
again, man, for having me on
Oh,
this, dude.
absolutely. Absolutely. I've got patches coming. I'm having patches made. I put that out in a group chat, and
Yeah, yeah, I saw
I'm
that.
definitely going to get your address and make sure that you get one for sure.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, send them over, and we'll represent, man. And
Cool.
if you need anything, man, let us know.
Absolutely. So thank you so much. Thank you everybody for listening. Thank you again for just listening to my journey through being a white belt and the people willing to offer me advice on getting through that and surviving that journey, because that's the nature of being a white belt, it seems. But with all that being said, thank you guys. I hope you guys are training hard out there, and don't forget to tap. All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks.